CIA Director William Burns has issued a call to arms in an article in Foreign Affairs, calling it urgently for the U.S. to continue sending weapons to Ukraine. That means the supplemental. He writes that cutting off aid at such a crucial moment is a mistake of historic proportions. Burns also says that the war has been a huge failure for Russia and a bonus for the CIA, which has been able to recruit a bonanza of Russian spies because of widespread unhappiness in Russia with Putin's war. With the Ukraine funding stalled in Congress, though also in Washington to appeal urgently to Congress, is NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. He spoke with me after meeting with congressional leaders yesterday. Secretary General, thank you so much for being with us. So you've been meeting this week on the Hill. You've talked to Senator McConnell, you've talked to Hakeem Jeffries, you've talked to the Speaker. Do you have more hope now that you will get money for Ukraine?
Yes, I expect that the United States will find a way to support Ukraine because this is in U.S. national security interest to ensure that President Putin doesn't win and that Ukraine prevails. So I expect that to happen.
The House Republicans have been a major problem, and they're listening to outside forces, to Donald Trump against it. How do you get the House Republicans to go along with this?
My message is that we need to support Ukraine because if Putin wins, that will embolden him, but also other authoritarian leaders to use military force. Today it is Ukraine, tomorrow it can be Taiwan.
They're obviously looking at the polls. Public support has dropped precipitously against more money for Ukraine. They feel America is providing all the support.
If we look at the total numbers, European allies and Canada are providing much more support than the United States if we add military and economic support.
Isn't it true that there are certain weapons, the ATACMS and some others, that can only come from the U.S.? So it's not a matter of money, but it's a matter of giving them what they need right now.
Yes, very much so. The Europeans are providing more support measured in money if you add all together. But of course, much of the European money is spent in the United States. They buy javelins, they buy Patriot batteries, they buy a lot of other military stuff from the United States, partly to deliver directly to Ukraine, but partly also to backfill their own stocks because they have been reduced because they have sent a lot of equipment to Ukraine. So increased support to Ukraine means more jobs in the United States.
Are the Ukrainian soldiers running out of ammo? Are they really stuck in their trenches without enough ability to fight back or to go on offense?
They need more weapons, but not least they need more ammunition. We all expected perhaps more success in the offensive they launched last year. At the same time, we have to recognize the huge achievements the Ukrainians have made. When this war started, most experts believe that Russia would control Kiev and Ukraine within days and weeks. The fact is that the Ukrainians have been able to liberate 50% of the territory that Russia controlled at the beginning of the war. They have liberated part of the Black Sea, opening up a corridor for export of grain, and they are inflicting heavy losses on the Russian armed forces. By a fraction of our defense budgets, we are significantly reducing the combat capacity of Russia. So this is an investment in our security, which actually already had paid off.
But Russia seems to have an unlimited supply of soldiers to throw into this battle. By one estimate that I heard from Ukrainian officials shared with the U.S., there's some 360,000 casualties already of Russian soldiers, and they keep coming. Can't Vladimir Putin outweigh Vladimir Zelensky?
So we have to prove that democracies are not lazy. So President Putin believes that democracies are lazy and we don't have the staying power. We need to prove him wrong by continuing to support Ukraine. And we need to realize that we have inflicted all these heavy losses on the Russian armed forces. More than 300,000 casualties, thousands of armored vehicles destroyed, hundreds of planes, without putting a single US or NATO soldier in harm's way.
If Ukraine runs out of weapons and can't continue with the war, is it stalemated already, and will they be unable to go on offense once the spring comes again?
We hoped for more achievements during the offensive last year. That didn't happen, but they are able to continue to ensure that Russia is paying a high cost. And at some stage, the calculus has to change in Moscow. Now they believe that they will win on the battlefield. We need to ensure that they understand that Putin will never win on the battlefield and has to sit down and negotiate an agreement.
There are many who are saying it's time to negotiate, that Vladimir Zelensky has to give up hopes of getting all of Crimea, and they have to sit down and negotiate new borders and some sort of a ceasefire line.
I would like this war to end as soon as possible, and but the quickest way to end the war is to lose the war. So, of course, what we need is a solution where Ukraine prevails. And there are no signs that Russia has given up the ambition of controlling Ukraine to ensure that Ukraine is part of Russia's sphere of influence.
If Ukraine were to lose to Vladimir Putin, what is the threat to NATO, to the border states, to Poland?
The threat is that if we allow President Putin to win in Ukraine, that will teach him a lesson that when he violates international law, when he invades another country, then he gets what he wants. And he wants to re-establish a Europe where Russia is able to control her neighbors. This is not only about Europe, this is also about Asia and China, because this is closely watched in China. And therefore, it is in the interest of all NATO allies, also the United States, to ensure that Putin is not successful in Ukraine.